And this is FamVersation, a talk show for teens and young adults where we get to meet amazing people like my guest today. We talk to professionals from Las Vegas and all over the United States to find out about their road to success. Today, I have Jen Phillips. She is a phenomenal educator. Numero uno. How do you say it? Numero. I can't even say it. She is an amazing teacher. She's with the local schools here, working with elementary schools, and she has created a program to teach kids math. And she calls her program Math a Magician. Jen, thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited to tell the world about what you do and how you unlock the brains of kids when it comes down to mathematics. Something I needed when I was a kid. I needed you.
Fair
Jen,
enough. Fair enough.
welcome. Welcome to FamVersations.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Latoria. It's really wonderful to be here with you guys this afternoon.
Absolutely, yes. So before we get started, the first thing I wanted you to do was to let us know a little bit about your background, your early years.
Okay. So growing up, my dad was in the military. And so a lot of teenagers I'm sure that you encounter have some transiency, been to multiple schools, struggle with making friends, and I'm no different. By the time I graduated high school, I'd been to 12 different schools. And I graduated in the top 10% of my class. And my parents were very important, to provide me with a solid education with K-12. But they made it very clear they were not paying for my college. They made that very clear. But I was the girl who knew I wanted to be a teacher, and I knew I had to go to college to do that. And so doing well in school wasn't an option. I had to be able to pay for my schooling. I had to be able to do that. And so 25 years ago when I graduated high school, they had a program at my high school that said, do you want to go to college while you're in high school? And I was the only one in my class that did that. Out of 200 kids, I was the only one that did it. And I got 5 college classes while I was a senior, and they counted for both high school and for college. And so I started off, I got myself a nice little head start. Right. And then I continued on through that same college through my undergrad. And at the same time, I got married. I had a daughter. My daughter was born a month before graduation. So families that are looking at, well, I married young. I got married at 19. Kids who are thinking, well, I had a kid. I had one at 22, and I was graduating college. I didn't even have my first real teaching job yet. I just graduated. She was born, and I wasn't even done student teaching. And so when you look at like all these different things, some people, they had this plan. I'm going to go to college, and then I'll get married, and then I'll.
Right.
I didn't do that. And I did go to college and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't have this plan of it going a specific kind of way. And so I think that we need to remember that flexibility is really important when we're growing up and when we're making these changes, because we don't know what our path has for us.
Right.
I never thought I'd be married at 19. I didn't think I'd have a daughter at 22 and still be in college. But I got it done. And I think that the families and children and young adults that you work with, the teenagers and young adults you work with, perseverance is something that they're going to, if they don't already have, they're going to need to learn. Absolutely. And continuing to strive for that. What do you want? What do you need to do to get there? I have 4 teenage children now, young adult teenage children. My youngest is 13, and my oldest she's 22, and she'll be 23 this year. And she's on her path, and my 3 boys, they're on their path, and not the path necessarily that I would choose, but they're choosing their path. And realizing that my path is my way, and I don't have to follow what mom and dad say or do. And I think that that's a really important piece, is that growing up, we kind of get stuck in this spot of I need to do what my parents say. I need to follow the rules. I need to do these things. And then we end up with resentments or regrets about what we chose to do because it wasn't our path,
Right.
you know?
Well,
I'm
I
a
do like the lesson that I'm hearing from you, that we have to be flexible and we have to do what's right for us, because I think that's the main thing that we want kids to know, that, yes, I was one of those planners. I was one of the ones that, wanted to make sure that I had this, and this
Mhm.
before I brought this, and this into my life. And, even when you plan things out, it doesn't always necessarily work out the way you want it to work. But you adapt, because it's this thing called life. Things happen, and you just adapt, move on, keep it going.
Yeah. Very, very true.
So when
Very.
did you guys come to Vegas? I know you're in Vegas. You're a teacher. You're a local elementary school teacher. When did you come to Vegas?
We came to 2000 in 2000. So
Hmm.
I've been here for it'll be 22 years this June that we've been
Oh, so
here.
your daughter was born here.
My daughter was born there in
Okay.
Ohio, and then my three boys were born here. So she was a year and 15 months old, something like that, when we moved here.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And your college years, it was focusing on math because you've always enjoyed math. Is that correct?
No, actually, because so I always loved math. I took calculus in high school. I was that kid.
Mhm.
But I actually was told by a teacher in high school that I had an aptitude for accounting, which is math, right? And I'm like, okay, I'll go be an accountant, because he was like, you don't want to be a teacher. There's a teacher telling a kid, you don't want to be a teacher, 25 years ago. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, you'll make a lot more money in accounting. You're really good at it. Go
Mhm,
for it.
mhm.
I said, oh, okay. So I did. And I lasted in that program a semester, and I decided this is not for me. I had taken on a job as a receptionist, and I had realized that I met accountants, and no offense to any accountants, and I have some that are friends, but I found them to be boring. And so I'm like, I'm not boring, I'm fun. And I couldn't see myself
Wow.
being an accountant. I just couldn't. I have much too creative. I have much too personality to be sitting at a desk punching numbers into a spreadsheet. Not that I don't enjoy doing that, but I couldn't see that being my profession. And after the first quarter in college, I dropped out of business, and moved over to education.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you end up getting a master's degree in education.
I did after I moved here. When what's really kind of cool is that if you are open to opportunities, they show up. And so when I was first here in Las Vegas, I worked at Bridger Middle School, and I had no desire to get a master's degree. It was not on my radar. Like, no, I don't want it. And then there was a program that said, if you do this thing working at this school, you can get it for free.
Oh,
So, okay, a free master's program. That sounds like a plan to me, right? During that time, I also got my national board certification for free. They paid for it. And so I was able to learn a lot of really good things and build my repertoire, and I didn't have to spend any extra money doing it. I even got a scholarship for 2 years while I was in my master's program from a local credit union to help pay for additional whatever during that time.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, you mentioned earlier in your early years when you were in high school that your school offered you a dual um, uh, high school diploma. I didn't even hear about those until, like, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I had no idea they were around that long.
Yeah.
Not calling you old, but you just said that you have a 22-year-old, 22-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been okay, so I've been in Clark County for 22 years, and I don't know when they started the program. I don't think it was there when I started 22 years ago. They started it, I mean, maybe it was 15, but it wasn't. I don't think it was. And if it was very, very small.
Mhm.
And now it's commonplace.
It's
Like, if you keep your grades up, you apply, you can go to Nevada State College or CSN. I think
mhm.
there's even a third option that you can go and here's the cool part is kids now that graduate, they can get an associate's degree and a high school diploma at the same time.
Same time. Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
I think that's just really smart. The other thing is that our systems here in Clark County with the magnet programs and some of the other things that we have in place, like kids can leave with a skill. So my second child, my oldest son, he went to a magnet program here in Las Vegas for culinary.
Oh.
He got a job working in culinary while he was still in high school, working at a restaurant. But he works at a local Italian restaurant right now. He's working from one station to the other, learning them all, and moving his way up to hopefully one day be a sous chef. And he just loves what he does. But he got all that by going to school. He didn't go to Cordon Bleu. He didn't do that. He went to a Clark County school, got skills, loves what he does, and
I love that. I love that. I know that schools here in Vegas are big on those soft skills teaching because I taught culinary arts at a school here, at a school locally in Vegas also. And, we had so many kids that wanted to sign up for my it was an after school program, but we had so many kids that signed up to do the cooking classes because, kids are really interested in cooking.
Well,
One of my board chairs before I moved here is a restaurateur. He opens up restaurants all over the place, and he started as a busboy, and then really got bit by the bug and went to Europe and studied and got his training in Europe. I know, isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
And now he's a self-made, a successful person. And started as a busboy in the restaurant business, in the food business. So yeah, kudos to your son.
It's really very cool, and it's funny because I'm looking at my youngest and he's in a magnet program and who knows where he's going to get into from high school. We're still waiting to hear about that. And he's only 13. So there's time, right?
There's time.
There's lots of time. There's lots of time. But when you talk to us, okay, what do you want? And he doesn't know. And I think that a lot of times we, as adults, we ask kids, teenagers, young adults, and we're like, so what do you want to do? And they're like, I don't know. And to not know is okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
I tried to give my children an opportunity to try things out. So Scouts was something that was a thing for me growing up. I was a Girl Scout. My brother was a Boy Scout. And so my kids have all spent some time in scouting to have some skills in some other areas, have some additional friends outside of the school setting and learn some new and different things. And so I think that's important. But if a child, for instance, my daughter, she was interested in animals. And so we explored it. It's well, would you want to work at a veterinary clinic? Would you want to work at an animal shelter? You love animals. What can we do to check and see? And so she was like, But her degree at her high school, the program she chose, not degree, but the program she chose was education because I'm a teacher. And she thought maybe she'd want to be a teacher. And I think what was really smart, this was the smartest thing my daughter, I think, has ever done. She went to this program, gave it her all, took some college courses, worked at an internship, had a daycare. She'd worked with kids and decided it's not for her.
Good for her.
And I think that kids need to be allowed that exploration because if they don't recognize that I don't like it and be willing to cut the cord and move on, they end up regretting the decisions they make because, well, I went to school for that, so I have to stick with it.
And be miserable on the job, like a lot of people are. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about some of your greatest accomplishments, some of your greatest achievements.
I would say a couple of them would be, my 4 kids. And then I have
hands down,
right? And so my national board certification, it's a very strenuous process. And when I went through that, they actually make you videotape yourself and then watch it and critique yourself to see how you did and what you did. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do is analyze me and look at my teaching, but it made me such a better teacher.
I bet you're fun in the classroom.
I am a lot of fun.
It seems like you would bring a lot of energy.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun with the kids in the classroom, and that part is really cool, making connections for them and everything. Another achievement I would say is I made a decision a couple years ago, about 7 years ago. I wanted to try financial services because, that accounting thing in my background, like, okay, that kind of always lingered. And so I tried financial services, and I got my securities license. I got my life insurance license. I got my brokerage license. Like, I got all these things. That was one of the hardest things to do, was studying for something that didn't come to me naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And school was something that came to me very easily. And I think a lot of times kids, that if it doesn't come to you easily, they give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think school K-12 came to me easily. College came to me easily. My master's degree program was easy. Like, overall, that was easy.
Mm-hmm.
But taking these certifications, the federal government certification courses and tests that they do for licensure, that was hard.
Okay.
That was hard. But I did it. I failed the first time I took it. I did it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that thing. I think I failed 2 or 3 of them the first time. Then I passed the second, but I didn't give up. I tried again.
That's like, I should have heard that from you a couple of years ago when I went for my real estate license. I went to school, got my real estate, and did not, because I missed my real estate license by a point. I was buying a lot of real estate, and I was like, I got to learn how to do this so I can just cut the middleman out. And literally did not go back because I was like, I'm done with that.
That's what happened to me on my broker's license. I missed it by 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend of mine, she tested the same day. She passed. I missed it by 1 point, and I was devastated.
Did you go back?
I did. I went back and I got it.
Nice. So yeah. You were broke. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm not anymore. Not anymore. So I have made a shift. I've made a decision. I'm like, I think this is another point is that when things don't feel right,
mm-hmm.
it's okay to make a shift. So mm-hmm. I shifted out of teaching with financial services 5-6 years ago now. Can't even remember. And left teaching for 2 years.
Okay.
I said, you know what? I am burnt out. I had been teaching for 17 years. I'm like, and I'm out. I can't do it anymore. I had that year, I had 37 fifth graders in my classroom, and they were, some of them were really hard. And it was like, okay, if I don't take care of me, I am not going to be good to anybody. And that's not good for my kids. That's not good for the students. It's not good for me. And so I made a decision to go full force into my financial services business. And I did. I went whole hog and went all in, but I wasn't successful. And I actually, during that time, I had just gotten divorced a year or 2 prior. My ex-husband and I had gone bankrupt years before. And so I felt like this fraud in financial services when I'd gone bankrupt. I'd had a foreclosure. I had a short sale, and I had a divorce. So I was like, all these big financial things. But I did. I went for it. I had over, when I left financial services, I had over $2 million in assets under management, and I had a very nice small group of clients that I was working with, and I loved working with them when that was my thing. But I realized I didn't really want to do that anymore, and I made a decision to go back to the classroom and kind of eat crow to go back to the exact same building I had left. And it was like, I said I was never going to go back to teaching. I got rid of all of my stuff, and then I came back.
Wow.
And so that was a very humbling experience, because when I left, I was a completely different person when I came back. I don't know if you've ever met anybody who's going through a divorce. They're pretty miserable.
Yeah.
And they're going through a pretty rough time. And I was a pretty miserable person at that time. And I made a lot of shifts. I don't know if you saw it, but Bob Proctor, he passed today. And I actually did his Thinking into Results program during that time I was not working as a teacher. And that really helped me to see, who am I? What do I want? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to be? and really dive into me, I was able through that program to look myself in the eyes. And I don't know who's watching this right now, but if you've never done this, go stand in the mirror in the bathroom and look at yourself in the eyes. Don't just look at your mouth or your earrings. Like, look at yourself in the eyes. And if you've never done that, you're gonna have a hard time. And I would cry, because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm actually seeing me. I was a person that averted the mirror when I would go wash my hands in the restroom.
Wow.
I did not want to see me. I didn't want anybody to see me.
Because you were so broken? Because like why did you not want to see yourself in the mirror?
I did. I think I felt so broken. I felt so rejected with the way that my marriage had ended. And I felt, I'm like, how am I ever going to recover?
Mm-hmm.
I've got 4 kids I've got to take care of. What am I going to do? And I struggle with that. And I know that teenagers struggle with self-image. It's part of the years. It's part of teenagerhood. But if you don't learn how to look at yourself in the mirror, sooner than later, you're going to be like me. You'll be 40 and can't look at yourself in the mirror.
Do not tell me you cannot look at yourself in the mirror now.
No, I love looking at myself in the mirror now. So now I look at something like, oh my God, I love your hair. Like, oh, I didn't do my makeup today, but when I do my makeup, I love that. I love my earrings. I've been self-conscious of my teeth. I had braces when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And teenagers, if you've got braces, make sure you wear that retainer, because they never told me it was lifelong. So that the teeth that I was moving in my braces shifted back, and so that bothers me now.
Mm-hmm.
And so my smile isn't something that I particularly enjoy. But my fiance does, so that's okay, But it's being able to look myself in the eye today. Now I can. I actually look at myself in the mirror and check, okay, do I look okay? Is there something in my teeth, And doing that and making sure I look good and I feel good. And that's something that I didn't do early on. I didn't do it all early.
So you kind of like combined a couple of questions that I had in mind for you, and you talked about your pitfalls. You talked a little bit about your successes, but are there times in your professional career that you found yourself at a crossroad when you just didn't know what to do? And then that's my question, but I want to come back to your comment when you said look yourself in the eye, in the mirror. And I wanted to piggyback on that and say to kids that even when you're hurting, look yourself in the eye. And because I do like that, because when you were hurting, you could not look yourself in the eye. And I wanted to come back to, like, even when you are at your worst, still know that you're loved, and that this too shall pass, and that no matter what you're going through, if you can just make it to the next day, it's going to be okay. And the pain does lessen day by day by day.
It does. And for me, I have a new coach that I work with. Dr. Alok Trivedi is my new coach. I've been working with him for 3 years. And when you finally realize that you have the potential for greatness and you've got a coach that will help you along that path, you stick with them. And so I've been working with him for 3 years now, and he has helped me see that my most important relationship is the one with me.
Yeah.
And that was never, ever brought to my attention growing up. Your parents, your kids, your teacher, your friends was never taught. If it was, I wasn't listening. Mm-hmm. Okay, so mom and dad, just in case you watch this and
shout out to mom and dad.
I never felt my relationship with me was the most important thing. And I think that sometimes in society, we are taught that we are selfish when we make this relationship important. We spend time on ourselves, go get our nails done, go work out, eat the right foods, all these different things. Like, my relationship with me is the most important one. And if I don't feel good in my skin and I can't look myself in the eye and I can't love me, then what am I giving back to anybody else?
Right. Yeah. It's almost impossible to love somebody else when you can't love yourself. And that's the broken side of a lot of relationships, that a person is broken inside and they're trying to love, but they really don't know how to love because they don't love themselves. And so
Yeah.
that's enough of the psychiatry side of that conversation,
Yes.
but it's real.
So, yeah. So okay. So back to my crossroads. So I've only been at 3 schools in Clark County.
Mhm.
I've only worked at 3. If you talk to any teacher that's been in the Clark County, typically it's 3 years. They stay for 3 years and then they move. It's usually they typically they don't stick around in a school. My first school was 6 years, my second school was 7 years, and my third school I'm now at 7 years. I had 3 before I
Oh,
left,
wow, nice.
and now I'm at 4. And I don't see me leaving until my math magician takes off. And so that's really where I'm at. I get to do what I love here. When I talked earlier about opportunities, when I was at Bridger, I got to be a part of the magnet school when it got launched,
Mhm.
and we were a NASA Explorer school. So I got to spend time at NASA. I got to go to 3 research centers. I got some
Mm.
fantastic education from those programs with the NASA Explorer School program. And I learned a ton about how to teach and integrate and just all the cool stuff that NASA does. Like, I am a total NASA geek and I love that stuff. I have a flight suit and everything. Oh, I should have worn that for this interview. I love my flight suit. I wear it for Halloween every year. Sometimes I wear it the first day of school. But that's what I wear to school for dress up days, is my flight
Cool.
suit. And I love that. And the stars have always fascinated me. I'm scared to death of roller coasters, so there's no way I'm going in a shuttle. But like I think that what's done there and what is out there is just so amazing. But if I would have kept my, I don't know, my blinders on, I would have never been open to that opportunity.
Right.
I would have let it go. I would have, and I think that's what we have to look at, is that whatever we're presented with, that opportunity, should we do it, and why, and who's saying no, and who's saying yes, and why are they saying no, or why are they saying yes? And if I'm saying no, is it because it's down here in my belly where fear lives, or is it in my heart or in my head? And if I don't know where, and this is something I'm still learning at 45 years old, to listen to my body tell me what's going on, because if it's down here in my gut, that's fear. That's fear, and that's not going to help me move forward.
Wow. I love the way you think. I just wanted to remind everybody that you are listening to FamVersations, a conversation with professionals in the community who are talking about their pitfalls, their struggles, and their road to success. Foster, adopt, mentor. FamVersations, having conversations to help mentor young people virtually, talking about professional career movement. And so, with that said, I want to segue into the phenomenal genius you are with this new program that you've created. I'm
Oh,
so super excited about to tell everybody what you do, and I hope you can give us some examples and show us some things that you have. She is the creator of a math program for I'm thinking elementary school kids, but does it apply to all kids?
well, actually, it's a program for parents.
It's a program for parents. Well,
Yes.
please introduce us to Math a Magician.
So the Math Magician was birthed about a year ago after another fledgling company, which I have. We're realizing as teachers that parents need to be a part of their kids' education, and COVID has made that abundantly clear, that parents have been left out. I don't know what your familiarity is with the Common Core standards. Excuse me, but for a lot of families, they don't like them.
Mhm.
They don't understand them, and they just think that they're awful. And it's because it's teaching in a new way, and it's different than what we were taught growing up, and which is totally true. And I learned differently than my parents, and my kids learn differently than me, and I'm teaching this Common Core stuff, which is different. But I think I'm gonna go political here for a second. I think that the Common Core was built maybe not with this as a premise, but it happened, and it pushed parents and families away from the schools. And so my friend and I, we started a company 2 years ago, and during COVID, and go, parents need help. How are they going to help their kids when they don't understand what's being taught? How do they support the learning at home when they don't understand why we're teaching 15 ways to add double-digit numbers? Like, how can they help? They just want to teach, line them up and regroup, right? And so we were like, we've got to help these parents. And so that company kind of floundered. And then I'm like, no, I need to do this. I really need to do this. And so the Math Magician is around because I know that parents need help. And parents don't want to always send their kids to tutors. And parents don't want to send them somebody else. They want that connection with their kids. They want to have them be the person that their kids go to in their life when it comes to things that are hard. But if parents don't know what to do, they don't know what to do. And so what I do is I teach parents with household items around your home. I've got egg cartons and water bottle caps and dice and cards and all different kinds of things to help kids learn. And really, I focus on the foundational skills because if you don't have that, algebra is going to be a nightmare. And when you get to middle school and high school. And so I really do focus on kids that are younger. And my specialty is in kids that aren't even in school yet. Like, how do we create that foundation before they even enter school? And so like I've got a couple clients right now where they have 5-year-olds. And then they're also potentially looking at homeschooling. And so looking at those families that want to take control of their child's education and make it fun and bring the life back into their child. And I don't know. I know you have a son. Do you have more children or just him? I don't know.
We have 7 kids.
Holy cow, I had no idea. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let me ask you a question. Did you homeschool? You homeschooled your kids?
I homeschool my youngest son, yes.
Okay. Your older kids then? They went to
just regular education.
Okay.
Public school education.
Did you ever, in any of the 6 of them, see the light in their eyes go out in regards to school and learning?
No. I can't say that I have, but I can say that I saw frustration when it came to certain subjects.
Okay.
Especially for my son with math, because he's always believed that he could not do math. But and I have paid tutors after tutors after tutors. I'm telling you, but he's always had a phobia for math because I have a phobia for math. And I wish that I knew you 20 years ago when he was he's 19. He'll be 20 this year. But I wish I knew you when I needed him during those formative years when he was learning math at home with me, because I don't know if I really did it right, if I got it right, but I did what I knew. And actually, when he was homeschooled, he did really well. He did really well as a homeschool student. He was always an honor student. And the homeschool that we were a part of, we had to take all of his work and send it off to the school so it could be graded and evaluated, and then they grade his papers. And so he was an official honor roll student through the system that we went through. And the system that we went through is what ambassadors use all over the United States. And so that's the one that we purchased.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, that's really amazing because I've watched my children have the light be taken out of them, and they hate school and they hate learning. Wow. All 4 of them. And I'm a teacher and I love to read and I love to learn, and that's what I do. And they don't. And they think that learning is school, and if it's learning, it's school, and they don't want it. And that's, to me, is just the saddest thing ever. And
exactly.
And for me, I know that parents have what you described, that math phobia. And they're like, well, I don't know how to do algebra. I don't know how to do geometry. I don't know how do I do that? And so I really that's what I want to do, is I want to help those parents. And so when I look at, kids that are becoming parents, what do you do? How do you create thinkers? How do you create lifelong loving learners?
Right.
How do you create that? And so for me, it all goes back to something I learned with my coach. And what are your values? What's important to you? And what I've learned is that what's important to me is not what's important to my kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so my son, he's 13 and he loves football and scootering and anything else that you mentioned for 5 minutes. He loves that too. And then he doesn't, then he's done with it. But I'm not I'm not that short tempered or time attention span. Like, I'm much more long-term thinker. And I'm like, okay, you want to play football? Great. Let's get your grades up so you can play football and this and that. Well, he doesn't care enough to do his grades. Doesn't care enough to do his school. It's like, okay, well, then you're not gonna do it. Like, you're not gonna be playing football.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what got my son to flourish in school when he was in public school, is that he's an athlete. He is a stone cold athlete. And if you want to be an athlete, well, I need athlete grade. And he was on the honor roll because he knew that in order to do this, I had to do that.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of times that I teach a reading group right now, 5th graders, and over half of them think they're going to go to college, which I think that's the other misnomer, is that everybody's got to go to college. I don't think everybody should. I don't think everybody wants to. And I think that people need to be okay with having a skill, like my son who went to culinary. Like, it doesn't have to be college. It's not meant for everybody. And that's okay. And that's okay. Why? And I don't know who's listening to this, but if there's parents that are listening to this that don't like it, don't, just whatever. For me, I think it's a waste of money to go to college if you don't need a degree to do what you want to do. I personally, I am not a person that says college for everybody and college for the sake of college. I'm not. My second son, he's going to graduate this year. He does want to go to college. He says he wants to be a history teacher. Okay, well, we'll see if that happens.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea.
Who teaches in the house?
Yeah, that'd be really cool. But he's also enrolled into the ROTC, not the ROTC. He's an ROTC in high school. He's enrolled in reservist with the Army. So I don't know what that means
for his education.
And that's going to pay for education. But if he chooses not to go, he's got another path. He's got more than one way. And he can save that education credit for when he wants it. He doesn't have to use it right now when he's like, maybe I want a break. I wanted a break from college. That's the other thing, is when I was younger and I was newly married, I didn't want to go to college anymore. I was done. I was burned out. And in my first quarter, I got 2 C's and a D. I had 18 credits. I dropped down to 9 just to stay full time. And I got 2 C's and a D. And I lost my scholarship because I didn't care anymore. I was tired. I was tired. And I think that we have to listen to ourselves. Like, maybe if I would have taken a quarter off, maybe I wouldn't have done that and lost my scholarship. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know. But I think that when we are tired, we need to be okay with taking a respite and coming back. I took my 2 years off of teaching. And what did I do? I came back. And I have been renewed and rejuvenated with that decision. And so when I look at my crossroads, I've had opportunities to go to schools and switch positions, and I've taken them. When I left Bridger, I had my master's degree, and I wanted to have more of a leadership role in the school. But I recognized that the higher ups, the administration, they didn't want me in that role. And I would be stuck as a teacher for the rest of my career at that building. So I moved on. I learned a ton of things at the next school. I have a master's degree in technology education, instructional technology, and I got to be a technology coordinator. I got to do all kinds of things at this school, and it was wonderful. Learned so much. But then I don't know if you've ever heard of these, Latoria. They're called budget cuts. And so these extra positions.
Okay.
I got put back in the classroom. I still did all of my other duties that I did prior to without having a full load. And I taught 5 classes. And I was like, and I can't stay here. And I went to elementary, and I'm so thankful for the principal I have now, because that's who hired me. She took a chance on me. I had not taught elementary. I'd been middle school the whole time, and I'd been out of the classroom for 7 years. And she took a shot, and she's like, all right, let's give you a chance. You've got good management. We can teach you the rest. And so she did. She took a shot at me, and the rest is history, because She let me come back after leaving for 2 years.
So what I keep hearing you say repeatedly over and over and over is that it's okay to make a mistake, regroup, recharge, re-energize, and come back and do what may not even thought about doing before, but it's okay to come back to pick the pieces back up and keep going. So I love your underhidden message that you keep sharing today, because that's a really important message. That's a really important lesson that we want to share with young people, that it's okay to not be okay with something and redirect or find something that you really are okay with, because that's how you find where you fit.
Yeah, and I think that I've judged myself and my values thinking they're supposed to be one way, and I've learned that they're not, they're another. And I realized that when I was younger, I had an entrepreneurial spirit. Like, I'm the girl who made a carnival in my backyard and invited the neighborhood kids. And there's
I
kids
like
like
that.
that. There's kids that made the lemonade stand, that mowed lawns and did things like that and made their own pocket money, babysat. And then we give up on this idea that we could be in charge and go settle for a job from somebody else. And today I have had numerous home-based businesses over the last 25 years. I have had numerous other, just different kinds of businesses. I've been in Pampered Chef. I signed up 3 times, by the way. So like, try once and it
I
wasn't the
love
right time.
Pampered Chef.
Again,
I love
love
what they
Pampered
have.
Chef. Um,
I
I
do.
I was very successful in that organization. I left it because I was getting divorced and I couldn't handle it. And I did Amway for a while back in the late 99, 80, late 90s. I was not successful there. I worked in finance, was not successful there. Was successful with my clients that I had acquired, but I was not successful in going out there and like trying to push people into something or try to convince somebody for something. I'm not interested in that. If I have to convince you you need what I have, you're not my client. You're not my client. And I'm okay with that. I don't need to convince somebody that. What I do for families with math, if you want to tutor, I'm not your girl. If you don't want to help your kid and learn how to do that with stuff around your house and in your kids' values, I'm not your girl. And I'm okay with that.
And so, what you saying that you showed us quite a few little gadgets that you have in your display there. Are you able to give us like an example of like some of the tools
Yes.
that you have in front of you?
Yes. So my favorite thing, this is my favorite thing, is okay, so you know how kids will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Just like we did with Sesame Street, right? But do they really know what this means? Do they know what 8 means? We say 8, but do they know what it means? And for the most of the time, my answer from kids is they don't know, not until they do. So like this is 8. So Latoria, we're going to play a game. When you see this, what do you see and how do you see it?
I see 8 spades.
How do you see them?
That's how I see it.
How do you see them? Because I see them a couple
Crisscross
different ways.
line.
Okay, so sure.
Crisscross.
Crisscross, like what do you mean? Like, do you see
On
groups?
So I see 8's going. Well, I know that it's 8 because they're going that way, up and down, around and around.
Let me show you what I show parents. I
Okay,
see a
show me.
3 and a 3. So I see 2 groups of
Oh,
3, right? And I see 2 in the middle, right? So when we're talking with kids, how do you see things? Some kids are going to see 2, 2, 2, and a 2, 4 groups of 2. Other kids will see 4 and 4. Some kids will see the 3, 3, and a 2. So it's how do you see it, right?
interesting. Okay.
When we talk about
So how do
counting, if kids can't go 1, 2, 3 and know that this is 3, 4, 5, 6 and know that this is 6, like how many is it? Just because they can say 6, do they know that 3 and 3, do they know that this is 6? Do they really know that? Or are they just saying 6?
right? Right,
So the game,
right,
so the game,
right.
so there's like seven. There's a whole bunch of games I like to play with this. So the first one is just
Okay, so now I see 3 and 5.
there you go. Yeah, three, and then if yeah, right there, kids can work on basic facts. This skill, by the way, is called subitizing. When we can see the quantity and we can attach it to a numeral. When we know that's 8, that's called subitizing. And that is the most basic skill that kids need when it comes to numeracy. And this, so I teach families how to play a bunch of games with this. Okay. One of them is just flash the cards and how many. Okay. But then what if they could do +1, -1, and do it? Flash it +1, flash it +2. They could do double it. Doubles +1, doubles +2, doubles -1, doubles -2. How far away from 10? How far away from 20? How far away from 5?
Mm.
All different kinds of games we can play. Then we can get into multiplication if we wanted to, or we could use more than one card. But I like to cut the numbers off of the corners because kids see the regular this, they see this, and they
Oh,
go, oh, that's
okay.
7. They don't even think about how many it is.
Right.
They just look at the number. And I think that we lose a lot of power in what the brain can do when we do this. And all we do is teach the kids how to read a number.
Wow. That is good. That is really good. I like that.
That's
Boy,
what
could I use you once upon a time.
And so
Wow.
another thing that I like to do, so like families that have little kids. So like I collected up all these water bottle caps. Okay. One thing you can do is teach your kids bigger and smaller, greater and less than. And they can see like, well, this is bigger. Well, how come? Because I can put it inside. I can stack them. And let them play. I think that we have lost play with our kids. And what does play mean to them when they learn? That's a huge thing for kids. And then the last thing that I love, this is another one of my favorites, is, a simple egg carton. Now this is 10. I cut off, and I cut this from a 30, and this is a 10. And the reason this is my favorite thing to do with these is that kids have to touch. And touch is the first way that kids learn. That's how they learn about everything in the beginning. And so like here we can see 5. Well, I can also make another 5. Make me another 5. Well, there's another 5. Well, make me another 5. Well, there's another 5. Getting kids to see numbers in multiple ways. Again, no numerals are in place. I'm not showing them a number 5. I'm asking them to show me. And when we teach kids, show me 1. Okay, well, show me another 1. And show me another 1. Just getting them to see 1 is 1 is 1 is 1 is 1. Because if I show them 3, do they know it's 3?
Right.
And most of the time they don't until they do. And so it's, what are we doing to build these foundational skills? And then we get mad when they don't know their math facts because they don't have this. When kids cannot create pictures in their head, they can't do the math. And so kids are listening, parents and kids are listening to me right now. If you're a teenager that still doesn't know your math facts, go get one of these. Don't tell anybody. Just go get one. Go get some water bottle caps and start playing with numbers. Start playing with amounts. Make yourself a deck of cards and practice this. Well, how much is this? Well, okay, so this is, okay, it's 8. Okay, 8 plus 1. 8 plus 1 is 9. Well, 8 minus 1 is 7. Play with the numbers. Make it fun.
Well, I'm going to have to say, yes, you've made it fun for me today. And I want people to know how they can get in touch with you. So give us your information as to what is the best way to reach you.
Okay, so I have a Facebook group called The Mathemagician, and you can find it on Facebook. Just search for The Mathemagician. I also have a Facebook page, Jen Phillips LV. I have been a major networker here in town for 22 years. I connect people all the time. That's probably the easiest way to find me instead of trying to find me any other way, Jen at jenphillipslv.com, or go to my Facebook page and go to Jen Phillips LV, and
Thank
LV
you,
for
Jen
Las
Phillips.
Vegas. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And you have been listening to FamVersation with Jen Phillips from Math a Magician. And she is a mathematician when it comes down to teaching kids math. Because look at what we learned in just this 2-3 seconds. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to staying in touch with you and continuing this mathematician travel road that we're traveling.
Yes. Thank you so very much, Latoya, for having me here today.
You're quite welcome. This has been FamVersation, a conversation that we have with local professionals that we want to introduce kids to about mentoring careers in various careers, various jobs. That she's a self-made entrepreneur, so she's starting this business on her own, and you can too. Anyone that wants to know more about starting a business, working with something that you're passionate about, reach out to Jen, reach out to us, and let us know that you like what you hear and what we're trying to accomplish. So I love bringing our visual mentors in to introduce and work with our kids. So again, this has been FamVersations, and thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next Friday.